Hi, I'm Jane Brecken. I'm being joined by Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and we are talking about deep recovery today. Deep recovery is a workshop we're offering in Brainerd on August 13th and 14th, and we are just going to talk a little bit further about what's going to happen at this workshop. Welcome, Dr. Rosie.
Thanks, Jane. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So last time we visited, we talked a bit about folks that are working in the field of addiction and mental health, and how the workshop could be helpful for them. I'm wondering if we could shift gears and talk a little bit today about people that are coming that are actually in recovery, not working in the field. They would be our clients as such, or folks that are just working a good recovery program, managing their primary addictions. Can you say more about what will be helpful for them in attending deep recovery?
So just even as you're asking the question, it occurs to me that, and as you said, dealing with or recovering from our primary addiction. And our primary addictions, whether it's substances, behaviors, thought patterns, emotional patterns, those are all our primary addictions. They come from unrecognized, undiscovered, or unexplored aspects of ourselves that we haven't wanted to look at. We resist looking at them. We're afraid to look at them. But the fact of the matter is every single one of us on the planet, all 8 billion of us, are holding these patterns of survival strategies, if you will, that help us cope and manage with life as it is. And so some of us drink or eat or gamble or go shopping or play video games or get anxious and panic or fear or depressed. Whatever it is that we do, those are ways that we use to cope and manage. So all of us who's attending are dealing with our primary addictions that we're trying to avoid or ignore some element of ourselves that we're afraid to look at or just don't want to. So every participant in this workshop will, first of all, have the company of others who are in that process, whether we're professionals or whether we're actually just in recovery as a full-time occupation, which I think is very noble. Mm-hmm. And all of us will be coming to that place of perhaps more inspiration and courage and willingness to live our life in its fullest potential. That's what I'm wanting for everybody, is the fulfillment of our human spirit. And so again, whatever our degree of recovery or attention to our recovery, we have the capacity to evolve into a greater degree of self-empowerment and self-realization, and then self-actualization, actually taking the steps, walking the talk to make our life that much more fulfilling. So everyone who comes to this workshop will have that opportunity. We'll be doing a lot of playing and working with aspects of ourselves in the way that we cope and manage, and see if there's another way, and unfold that and look at the source of our coping and managing styles, and again, see if there's another way of doing that. And there is, right. Most likely.
So as you were talking about the ignoring part of, so can you say a little bit about what is it that has us just ignore and distract ourselves from those things that we even may know we should be looking at? What keeps us from looking at that? Why the ignoring and is distracting? And especially maybe because some of us have already uncovered some things and it's brought such relief. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't end there, does it?
No, it doesn't. In a sense that every level from my experience in terms of my own recovery, and I see it as very much a spiritual journey. It's very much a spiritual path for me to be walking my talk and unfolding one layer at a time, the proverbial onion peeling process. It's we don't know what we're going to uncover. We haven't been given the tools or the skills or the courage or the strength or the resilience, if you will, to deal with what might come up. And so we think the worst is going to come up and that we won't know how to deal with that. Our biggest fear, I think, one of our biggest fears is death. I mean, death is our biggest fear, but being in the unknown, which can feel like death because we have everything from the past disappears when we are in this state of being that we're unfamiliar with. And that's a place where we think we're going to die, basically. And so our willingness and our courage to be in the that potential of not knowing, unknowing, is really, really scary. What if I find out? One of the things I've written about in this book, Parent Like a Guru, is what if, or in Diet Like a Guru, that was the one, Diet Like a Guru, because it's a recovery element. It's like, what if I uncover that I don't like myself? What if I find out I don't like myself? And that is a huge fear for people. But we already, I believe, most of us live in a degree of self-hate and self-loathing already, even before we get to the point of, gosh, maybe I don't like myself. Well, we're already at the place of, I hate myself. I hate this about myself. There's so much of myself that I hated and loathed. It was awful. I mean, it's awful to live with me, if you will. And so as I was willing to just acknowledge how much I hate myself and loathe myself, I could then begin to start feeling some compassion for this person who lives in so much hate and loathing. And in that compassion, I was able to, in a sense, begin to be more of a companion and say, I get it, that a lot of what I do in the world is coping with the self-hate and the sense of, I don't know how to be a human being on this planet. I don't know how to be. And so I'll do things that will distract me and have me ignore and avoid my not knowing, my level of incompetence, my level of perhaps insignificance or invisibility, all these elements of life that we want to ignore and avoid. But when we acknowledge them, now we have some empowerment to say, of course you feel that way. Of course you've learned that. Of course you've trained yourself to ignore and avoid, deny.
Right.
It begins to make sense. Yeah. And with sense, then it's like, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not sick. No, you're just a human being in this unfolding process of discovering and evolving yourself. It's like we have to kind of sort through the trash and see what's there and not be afraid of that, because there's nothing in that trash that's going to be anything but what you've already anticipated to be there, if that makes sense. It's like, I think I might find that I hate myself. You probably will. Or I'm going to find out that I'm a despicable person because I've done despicable things. You probably have, because we all have. We all have done despicable things. And we all can forgive ourselves at some point or have compassion for what it took, what evolved in our life. And this is part of the sourcing into what has created the reality that we live in, is that what was it that sourced us or created the despicableness or the lying or the cheating or the denying? What it's not that we just deny or that we distract, that we're bad, but there's something that was the source, the energy source, that had us decide, do this behavior, think this way. And that's when we get to that, it's like, oh, it's a no-brainer. So then it becomes more about discovery and curiosity about who I am and how I got to be me, and experimenting with, well, what if I tried this thought on today? Just like with recovery, one day at a time, whether it's giving up a particular food, giving up substances or behavior. I like to play video games, and it takes too much time away from the things I want to do. And so I have to say, one day at a time, no video games today, or whatever it is, one moment at a time as an experiment, see what shows up.
Wow. That just makes me really excited to get this workshop going for myself and lots of other people, Rosie. So thank you so much for this today. And we'll do this again. I've got a few more questions just based on what you shared today. So let's just end it here, and we'll meet again and continue this discussion about deep recovery. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye, Jane.